Hi, you know, the hardest decision any pet guardian ever has to make is how to say that final goodbye to their best friend. A lot of people say that final goodbye in an emergency situation, and then they have guilt for the rest of their lives. We're here today at LA Pet Memorial Park, the second oldest pet cemetery in the United States. And we're going to talk specifically about how to prepare for that ultimate day. It's not a day we like to think about, but out of respect for our pets, it's something we do have to think about. You know, we prepare for the loss of any of our family members. And from my perspective, and I know yours, our pets are part of the family. So today I'm going to teach you everything you need to know about how to make preparations for that final goodbye. I know you don't want to think about it, but it's important to remember that saying that final goodbye is the ultimate respect you have for your pet. I'll give an example of some of the respect people have for their dogs and their cats. Here at LA Pet Memorial Park, you note that a lot of the graves are decorated, but not only that, let me read this headstone to you. You know, you go to a human gravesite, it might say, beloved grandmother, father, wife, husband, aunt, uncle. Go to a pet cemetery, and it's much more personal. This is to Daisy May. Daisy May lived from 1986 to 2000. Moments without you are the most painful. Thank you, my angel, for all the hours of love, joy, and tenderness we once shared. I am you, you are me, we are one forever. Signed, Wendy. You got to have a tear for your eye when you read something like that. But if you were to go around and read all of the epitaphs here at LA Pet Memorial Park, you would see how incredible the relationship is between people and their pets. And for years, people didn't have the opportunity, or they didn't know that they had a choice of what to do when they had to say the final goodbye. Normally it would be take the dog to the veterinarian puts the dog to sleep, and he takes care of the ashes or whatever is done. Well, you can have a choice, and if you believe like I do that pets are part of the family, a memorial park like this or a pet cemetery might be the place to go. Follow me, we're going to teach you about how to prepare yourself for that final goodbye. It's difficult, it's not easy, but out of respect for your pet, it's something you need to know. Here with the corporate secretary at LA Pet Memorial Park, Donna. Hey Donna, how are you?
Hi.
Good to see you. LA Pet Memorial Park, you know, a lot of people have no comprehension that pet cemeteries or pet memorial parks even exist. How long has LA Pet Memorial Park been here? I understand it's the second oldest in the country.
Right. We've been here since 1928, and we're second oldest only to the Hartsdale in New York.
Which also I also know
Yes.
very, very well. You know, very often people that call me on the radio show or people that come to the website, they have no idea that when they have to say that final goodbye to their best friends, that there are options. And one of the biggest mistakes I find, Donna, that they make is they don't pre-plan for it. You know, we pre-plan for any members of our family, you know, grandparents, mom, dad, but yet for some reason, I don't know whether it's psychological or emotional, we don't want to think about saying that final goodbye to our pet. But out of respect to the pet, I think it's important for people to pre-plan whether they want cremation for their dog or their cat or their horse or whatever, or whether they want a regular burial. Now I noticed that we're standing here with a lot of different types of urns. Now, when people have to say that final goodbye to their pet, and they do want the pet cremated, one of the things they ask me is, Warren, how do I know that when my vet gives me back my ashes, I'm really getting back my dog or my cat? Now, you have private cremation here. Why don't you explain that to us?
Private cremation means it's one pet in the crematory by itself alone. That's the only type of cremation we do here. Now, someone will say individual. Individual means that the crematory's been divided by brick, and the pets are put in different sections, but they're not in the crematory by themselves. They're all being cremated at the same time. And, you know, the air and the flame and what have you are in there, and what happens in there, I have no idea. And then there are communal cremations, where they put all the pets in the crematory at one time and cremate them together.
Now, do you find there's a difference between people, let's say, for example, that want to cremate their pet versus people that want a burial, which we'll talk about in a few minutes? Is it a different relationship with their pet, or is it just a matter of
No, I don't
preference?
think so. I think it's preference.
Just preference.
It's preference, it's financial, it's what they've been used to or what someone suggested they do. I mean, those are kind of the ways they decide what they're going to do.
You know, I am a big fan of pre-planning, and the reason I say that is because generally when a person has to say that final goodbye to their dog or cat, very often it's sudden. You know, it wasn't a long illness, and so they go to their veterinarian. The veterinarian tells them the dog or the cat has to be euthanized. It's in a tremendous amount of pain, and the vet euthanizes, and people say, well, they're so stressed about it, you take care of it, and then the vet has the dog or the cat cremated, and they don't know if they're getting those ashes back is really their dog or cat or not. But even more important, the guilt factor comes into play. Did I make the right decision? Should my pet have gotten more thought than just that last minute? So pre-planning is something I really think that makes that time a little bit easier because the plans are taken care of.
It does. It makes it a whole lot easier. If they've come in, they've looked around, they see the types of urns we have. We have a multitude of different styles of urns, probably the nicest selection of urns around.
Yeah, you know, when I first walked in here to the showroom that you have here, I looked around and I was amazed at the different types. And I guess, again, it's a matter of preference because it's something that most people that have their pets cremated and have their pet's ashes in an urn have those urns on display as a memorial.
Probably, yes. And we suggest that they pick something that's going to fit their decor, whether it's wooden or marble or pewter or whatever is going to fit in with what they have at home that's going to make them comfortable with the pet's cremains.
So a lot of people, what they'll do is they actually will pre-plan. So they, let's say, for God forbid, their dog dies on a Friday night. They take it to their vet. The vet has to euthanize it, but then they already have made plans with you for the dog to come here for that individual cremation or burial, which we'll talk about in a second. So they know that they can feel more comfortable knowing that their dog is getting the same respect after it went to the Rainbow Bridge as it did before it left.
We treat each pet with individual dignity and respect as if it were our own. So if they would go at night or on the weekend or a holiday, they can always call us because we have the 24/7 pickup service. They can pick up the pet and bring it here to the cemetery until such time as they can come in and make the arrangements, or finalize the arrangements if they already have them.
And I'm looking at these different urns that you have here. I have to assume that all of these urns have different prices also. So I guess if dollars and cents come into play, depending on the type of services you want for your dog or your cat or whatever pet you have, you can make that choice as well.
Right, and they're all sizes. You know, in every type of urn that we have, we try to carry them in all sizes because no two pets are the same. And a smaller pet is going to fit in a smaller urn or a bigger urn, but a bigger pet is not. So they need to be conscious of that. Also, sometimes the bone structure determines what size urn. You may have a pet that weighs 35 pounds, but it's a shepherd and it's been sick. The bone structure determines the amount of cremains, so therefore they might need a larger urn than they anticipate because of the bone structure.
You know, I talk about this on the radio show a lot, and sometimes people will say to me, Warren, come on, really? I understand that everyone deals with death in a different way. There are some people that actually want to have a wake or a funeral or a gathering for friends and relatives that knew their pet. Some people out there might think that's eccentric, but you know, whatever makes someone comfortable in time of grieving is important for that individual person. Do you find a lot of people, not a lot, but there are people that do prefer having a wake or a funeral or a viewing room for their pet?
Yes, we have a slumber room that's available to the clients, whether they're for cremation or burial. And they can spend time in there, and the time is determined by the number of pets that we've promised for the day, but usually it's a half hour. More if they need it, we try to work that around. But we've had as much as people just go in and take a peek to make sure it's their pet and then seal the casket or take it to the crematory. But then we've had people come in limousines with music, people all over the place and other pets. So, I mean, we can have a variety of things. We even have one who's a Scotsman. He brings someone with a bagpipe out here, pulls the pet up to the grave on a little radio wagon, but the bagpiper's playing and has it buried. So
for some
whatever they want to do, they can.
It's saying goodbye is the celebration of life.
Exactly.
It's almost like the old saying at the Irish wake. My wake, I want everyone to eat and have a glass of brandy.
Right.
You know, let's move over here. I want to take a look because we took a look, and there's so many different types of urns that are available. The large urns, as we can see over here, the real small urns, I guess, for parakeets.
Mementos.
Oh, those are just mementos.
Mostly. I mean, you can put a bird in it, but mostly people want this if they're going to do something else, maybe scatter their urn, their cremains. They want a little one, so they have a little bit to keep for themselves.
Or maybe a divorced husband and wife that had a dog and they built
separated.
one. It's interesting.
Or a girlfriend of mine did it, and she divided it up into several small urns and gave them to friends.
Wow.
So,
Wow.
yeah.
Now, this is something most people have probably never seen or have never heard of. I mean, we're in the
Right.
profession. But a lot of people say, when I told people I was coming to LA Pet Memorial Park today and I was going to be filming at your showroom and I was going to show the different urns and coffins, people said, coffins for pets? Do pets really have coffins? Now I see you have a whole array of coffins here. What would you say the percentage of coffin burial is versus ash burial? Or do some people get the ashes and put those in a coffin?
Well, they do a little bit of both. You know, you have people who want to bury their pet as is and can't think about cremation or burning the pet. And there are those people who want to cremate, they want to keep the pet, or they want to bury it in a place where they can still visit, and it's a much smaller grave site. Sometimes people will cremate and save them until they have a whole family or a group of them, put them all in one casket and bury them all at one time, so it's one burial for the whole family. So we can accommodate them any way they want.
So the different types we're seeing, I mean, these are obviously for the larger pets and some for the smaller pets. And I guess the prices range from a minimum to as high as you want to go.
Exactly. We have the fiberglass, we've got the wood, we've got the pine for those people who want to do the ashes to ashes, dust to dust. And those are usually made
So in
with,
other words, this pine here would be the use of the pine is because the pine ultimately dissolves, is that it?
yes, and it's just a plain pine box, just like they bury some humans
In certain religions, right now, I know in the
Correct.
Jewish religion, for example, they're buried in a
Right.
plain.
And these are made with biscuits or pegs. They're not made with nails and screws.
So they do fall.
So the whole thing goes.
Interesting. So ashes
So
to
we
ashes,
try to
dust
give
dust.
everything else. These are a biodegradable casket as well. They're not as sturdy as the pine, but maybe for a smaller pet they would suffice.
So even in pet funerals, I guess environmental issues come into play. Biodegradable.
Right.
Biodegradable. It's fascinating to me. Now, the different types of coffins do range different prices. Do you find that people want the most expensive coffin because of the guilt, or do you find that it's just a matter of what they can afford and what they want to do?
I think it's what they can afford a lot of times, but a lot of times people just want the best they can get for their pet.
Yeah.
And we give them the option of what they can have. I don't think they just want it the very best there is. They want it to be what they feel like their pet's going to be comfortable with. And these are made for pets because they're a little wider than, say, the child's casket. We've had people try to bury their pet in a child's casket.
And it wasn't wide enough.
And it's not wide enough. Your animals have a girth that the human body doesn't have.
Let's take a walk down here and take a
Sure.
look at some of the other coffins. And I'm also noticing all the flowers that are around. We're going to talk about that in a little bit. But how beautiful they are, and what a great way to send your pet off to that rainbow bridge. And I honestly do believe in a rainbow bridge. I know a lot of people don't. Some people said to me, but Warren, you know, only humans go to heaven. Dogs can't go to heaven. And I said, hell will be fine with me. As long as the dogs are with me, I'm a happy guy. So the blankets and all of these, people can come in here and they can make pretty much, if you're saying goodbye to your dog, to your cat, to your bird, to your horse, you now, because of places like LA Pet Memorial Park, you have the option of giving that pet the same respect that you would give any family
Exactly.
member, whether it be a grandmother or grandfather or whatever. I know that may sound crazy to some people out there, but to a lot of people, their pets are just as important as any other family member, and that final goodbye is just as important as sending anyone else off to heaven or the Rainbow Bridge. This is, it's been an eye-opener for me because, I've been in this profession for over 30 years. Let's take a look at some of the headstones over here as well. I know that's another thing, and one of the fascinating parts about being here, Donna, is I was telling Brad, our camera guy, that when we were outside, that if you go to a human cemetery, you'll read on the stones, it'll say beloved grandmother, aunt, uncle, great grandfather, father, mother, whatever. Yet we were reading some of the epitaphs that were written to the pets. And there are some great ones out there. The one that brings tears to my eyes just thinking about it is, I think it was a pug. Here my best friend lies in his final state command. And it just breaks my heart every time I think about it. But when you read the epitaphs that people have, it's, to my best friend ever, our faithful friend, we miss you, beloved companion, our extra large dog, constant petting required, we miss you, our little girl, we miss you. I think that here we go, Poppy, 1968 to 1981, a true and loyal friend. There is a sadness in our home. We love and miss you, our Poppy, your family. I think it's just that a lot of people miss out on that final goodbye because they don't know it's available to them.
Exactly.
The vet's going to take care of it. That's the end of it.
Well, and I think you'll find that a lot of people from certain areas of the country are not familiar because they can bury their pets at home or on their own property, keep them close to them. Sometimes here in California you can't do that.
Yeah.
I also found when I moved out here that some people have pets as opposed to children. And so these are their kids. We had one lady that Sandy had a hard time with. She was talking to her about her kids and her kids and her kids, and finally she realized they were four-legged kids and not two-legged. So, you know, this is the case here. And so they want to do with them as they would any other family member. So they have lots of choices, lots of things they can do. And I suggest to people when they come out that they go out and walk around, see what other people have done with their headstones, just to get an idea of what maybe they'd like to do. Not to copy it, but to get an idea.
So just to let our people know out there, Donna, is that when you bring a pet into your home, it's a responsibility. It's something you love, something you adore. And when the time comes, and you do have to say that final goodbye, they deserve that same final goodbye that any other family member would get. And one of the things I noted out here when we were walking around is, that the let me just pick this up. That the gravestones were decorated.
Well, this time of year, for the holidays, Hanukkah and Christmas and what have you, we allow them to put just about anything they want on their gravesite.
So if they want a menorah, a Christmas tree?
Then after a certain period, which happened to have been last Sunday, they need to start removing those items because the rest of the year they're only permitted to have what actually fits in the vase. And put anything they want in the vase.
So like a flowers
or a pinwheel or pictures, whatever they want to put in that vase, as long as it stays in the vase and that can be removed for mowing, they're allowed to do. But during the holidays, we do it at Easter for a couple of weeks and at Christmas or Hanukkah for usually a 5-week period. We don't mow, we don't move anything.
We just let
them do their thing. And then when they remove it, which is now, then the guys can go back to moving and getting everything looking back in stellar shape again.
You know, it's interesting when you walk onto the grounds of LA Pet Memorial Park, usually when you walk onto the grounds of a cemetery of any kind, there's a sad feeling that comes over you. Yet for some reason, and I've been here many times, for some reason, when you walk onto the grounds of LA Pet Memorial Park, you're just overcome by a feeling of love and the love that was between the guardians and the pets they had to say goodbye to. So when I come here, you know, even though, you know, there's kind of tears in my eyes and a little bit after reading these, at the same time, I know you have that Rainbow Bridge area where you can just sit down and contemplate. But it always makes me feel so much better coming here knowing that so many people have come to the understanding, like you and I have, that pets deserve respect. They're such an important part of our lives that even when they're gone, I believe, I mean, I don't know what different people out there with different religions, but I honestly believe that all animals have souls, including our pets. You know, when I was studying in Europe, there are old stories about when someone in the neighborhood died, the dog would howl. And one of the reasons the dog would howl is it would guide the person on to the next life. I believe in that. I believe there's such an incredible bond between people and their pets that even when they do come here and have to say that final goodbye, that relationship is not over, that relationship. And that's what you feel here. You feel that constant love. And thank goodness for LA Pet Memorial Park and people like yourself, Donna, that understand what people are going through at this difficult time and can make it a lot easier.
Well, we feel, people will say, I don't know how you do this every day, you know? But we have to feel that we're helping people through a very difficult time and we're doing good for them. We're helping them, and that's what keeps us sustained in doing this sort of thing.
I find that your staff here is a staff that really lifts the spirits during the most probably the hardest time for most pet guardians is when they say goodbye, and the staff here is understanding, because you know it's kind of interesting when you say goodbye to your dog or your cat. You're crying one minute and you're laughing about something stupid that dog or cat did when it was alive. And you have the ability here to kind of bridge that gap and make people say, okay, I'm saying goodbye to my best friend. And I'm not going to see my best friend again, but you know what? because he's at LA Pet Memorial Park, I'll always have those memories in my heart, and I can come here if I need to cry, or I can come here and laugh with him sometime too and say, hey, remember the time you jumped on the dining room table and ate the turkey just before Thanksgiving? You know, so those are the smiles I think that people get when they come to LA Pet Memorial
I
Park.
think so. And the people who come in and say, oh, I don't want any more pets or anything, we have something called the Last Will and Testament that was written, and it's supposed to be from the pet to the owner. And one of the lines says, you know, if you don't get another pet, I didn't do my job.
You're so on target. I always say the best thing that anyone can do, and let me end on this note, the best thing that anyone can do that has to say that final goodbye to their pet is go out and adopt or rescue another pet. What a legacy you're leaving to the pet you had to say goodbye to. It's just amazing. Also, I'd like you guys to, if you want to find out more information and understand what pet cemeteries and memorial parks are all about, they have a great website here at LA Pet Memorial Park. It's lapetcemetery.com. Check it out. There's a lot of great information there, and I hope we've given you some thought process, something to really contemplate when we do have to say goodbye to our dog or a cat. Remember now, years ago every dog and cat was Duke, Duchess, and Queenie. Now it's Sam, Saul, and Harry. We give them human names because they're part of our family. So when we have to say goodbye to them, they deserve that same respect. Check out lapetcemetery.com, and next time look in your dog or cat's eyes and do what's best for the two of you.